Can Microlocs be undone or can they be combed out? And the answer is yes, they can be. If you start with braids, if you start with 2-strand twist, especially in the first several months, you can undo and unravel or unbraid the locks. If you decide to change your mind or you don't want them anymore, if you want to resize them and change them up. Even if your locks are super established and you're far into your journey and you decide 4 years down the road that you want to comb your locks out, yes, you can comb out sister locks, you can comb out Microlocs in the same fashion that you can comb out traditional locks. I think it's a time thing. I don't think that it's any more difficult. I know that some people say that because they're interlocked as opposed to retwisted, that it is more difficult to comb them out. I wouldn't say that's more difficult. I would say that's probably more time consuming. Whereas, you know, if you have a retwisted lock, if you were timing it, maybe a retwisted lock would take you an hour to comb out from start to tip, or root to tip. Whereas an interlocked lock may take you an hour and a half, 2 hours to comb out. Again, I don't think that it's a matter of whether it's more difficult. I think it's just a time thing that when it's interlocked, it may take you longer to comb it out or to pick it out without damaging the hair. Either way, you're going to be pulling through your hair. You're going to be losing hair in the process. A lot of it is shedded hair that would have fallen out of your head anyways. You know, if you had loose natural hair or your hair was loose, when you comb out your locks, that's part of the process that you're going to lose a lot of hair. But the question is how much length are you going to lose and how much hair you're going to break off. So there is a chance that interlocked locks, you will experience more breakage because, you know, you're having to comb through. You'd have to be really, really careful not to break your hair. But it is possible. I've seen people who have combed out sister locks and combed out Microlocs several years into their journey. So it is possible. It can be undone. So for those that are wanting to do it but not sure if they want to commit long term, I don't know why you would spend the time and the money and the effort to do all of this to then a year or 2 years later comb it all out. But hey, different strokes for different folks. You have to do what's right for you. So if you feel at some point that you want to comb them out, then comb them out. How long should I braid and band my Microlocs? I know this is a huge question in the lock community, especially with starter locks. Braiding and banding is very individual. And when I say it's individual, I simply mean that there's no one hard rule that fits for everyone. For me in my journey, because I have very kinky, tight 4C hair, I stopped braiding and banding. I don't know that I ever needed to braid and band, but I did in the very beginning for probably about 4 to 6 weeks. And then I stopped, and I've never braided and banded since then. I'm almost 2 years into my journey. Never had any slippage, never had any issues with that. There are other people who are 2 years into their lock journey and they're still braiding and banding when they wash because they still experience slippage and whatnot. So it depends on your hair texture. It depends on how mature your locks are, the starter method that you started with. And it's important that if you are going to a loctician and you're not a DIYer like myself, that you have open conversations with your loctician. You know, I don't think that it has to be their word above all, and you know, but I do think that you need to listen to their advice because you are paying them for a service and you could end up being charged more if you do something to jeopardize the service that they've been providing. Meaning, if you end up with a lot of slippage because you didn't braid and band, when you go to get your retie and they're, you know, repairing stuff, instead of the retie taking 4 hours, now it's having to take 6 hours. So you're going to get charged more for the 2 additional hours. And then on top of that, a lot of times locticians will charge you for repairs. So if they're having to do not just the regular rotations that they're doing, but they're having to go through and repair the length of your lock because you have slippage or bunching, then you're going to have to pay extra for that too. And so if you are going to a loctician, it is important that when it comes to braiding and banding, that you just keep that line of communication open and that you're talking with your loctician to find out when you can stop braiding and banding. You don't want to prematurely stop doing it and then you, like I said, experience slippage or anything like that. So it's important to, and if you're a DIYer, you just kind of have to, I don't want to say test it, but again, you have to pay attention to your hair and how it's reacting. Maybe you can test it by slowly weaning yourself off. So if you're braiding and banding and you're like, okay, I'm a year in, I want to know if I can stop braiding and banding, then braid your hair, you know, like you normally would, braid and band your hair, but leave a section out, you know, maybe not in the front where it's going to be super visible, but maybe leave one of your sections in the back or on the sides out, but have the rest of it braided and banded, and just wash your hair like you normally would and see how that one section that you left out does. If the section gets all frizzy and you're having all sorts of slippage and stuff like that in that section, then obviously you know you're not ready to stop braiding and banding, because if it happened there, it's probably going to happen over the rest of your head too. But if you wash your hair and that section is completely fine, and I'm not saying it needs to be a huge chunk, you know, maybe you just leave out 5 or 10 locks or something, just so you can kind of see. So if it is something that you do have to go back and repair, it's not like it's over your whole head and you're having to spend hours repairing it. Test a little section. And I think that's a way you can kind of test to see if you're ready to stop braiding and banding without it being a colossal thing. That's if you're DIY, okay? If you're going to a loctician, talk to your loctician about it. If you found this video helpful, then go ahead and join the flock by hitting that subscribe button. I post videos like this regularly throughout the week, and go ahead and hit that like button so that I know what type of content you're enjoying. See you in the next video.